Welcome. You're listening to the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast, a podcast production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. Thanks for joining us.
And welcome back to another episode of Dr. Ashley and the Boss. We are in studio. Dr. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I'm better because we have a super special guest.
We do.
In the studio with us.
It's exciting.
I think so. No pressure, but we think she might be one of our best guests ever.
Yeah. Just don't tell the others.
Oh, that's a good point.
Wow.
In studio, we really are pleased because Becca Smith, some of you might recall, we mentioned Becca before when we were talking about the RSVP conference where she was a presenter, and we thought she did just a wonderful job. She is a music therapist, board certified with University Hospitals, and she works over at the Connor Whole Health Center there on Samaritan, as well as other, I think, branch locations within the medical system. But Becca is going to talk to us about music therapy, what that actually looks like. There's just myths and facts we're going to go over, but we're excited for our audience to understand better what music therapy is, how it can be helpful, but also just to get to know Becca Smith a little bit. So Becca, welcome to the studio.
Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Did we build you up too big?
I know. Yeah.
That's a good intro.
I had a laugh in there. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, it's good.
That is good.
I'm honored to be here.
No, and I think we talked before about having Candace, a wrestler who you know and you co-presented with. Candace spoke to our audience about art therapy, and music therapy is just another one of those, I think, emerging practices that for some folks that are maybe struggling, the regular basic talk therapy that we've been doing for years, it has its place, but art and music therapy, we think for other folks it might be the preferred avenue or venue for them to connect. So that's why we're so excited about what you're doing. And as we get into the episode today, if you feel comfortable, we'll ask you, without breaking any PHI, tell us a little bit, as we go through this, how maybe you've seen this impact folks in a positive way. Because we heard from Candace that, particularly with some of the younger folks she works with or folks that have a trauma history, the regular talk therapy was just not really getting anywhere. The person was kind of stuck. But once you go down a different avenue, all of a sudden you start to learn stuff. They learn stuff about themselves, and the discussion gets, just more free-flowing and productive for everybody. So what do you think, Doctor? Are you excited about this one, Dr.
I'm really
Ashley?
excited for this. I love music, you know that. So I'm excited to hear what Becca has to
as
say.
the audience knows, Dr. Ashley and I have very different musical tastes.
Oh.
Yes, we do.
We'll have to talk about that if that's okay.
We could explore
As
that.
a music therapist, I would like to
Yes.
That would
know.
be fun.
Well, I think so. Yes, I'm. Of all the things about Dr. Ashley, I appreciate that is the one that bothers me the most, Becca.
Yeah.
She does not
That's how
share.
I feel. He has much more redeeming qualities, but
Goodness. We'll definitely have to
Yes.
dig into that a little bit.
And I shared with you my love of 80s hair bands.
Yes.
She does not share that.
I don't really like that. But I love that you love it.
Yeah. Hey, that's supportive.
Yeah.
It's not good enough for you. You need a little bit more.
I needed more than that. I needed somebody to belt out some of those choruses with me,
Oh.
Becca.
I'm so sorry.
And
Okay.
she refuses.
It can't be me.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
You just
I'm going to
slowly
keep
work
working
her.
on her.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Work
right.
in progress.
Okay.
Well, Becca, it might be helpful for folks because, again, I'm going to assume there's a lot of folks listening that they've never experienced music therapy firsthand, don't know anybody who has. So it may be helpful just to give folks in the audience an overview about kind of what it looks like, what it sounds like, and maybe we can bust some myths or common misperceptions people have about what it is and what it isn't. So take it away, Becca.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think we could even maybe combine those two.
Okay, let's do it.
Because, oftentimes when you think of music, I think a lot of people go back to their childhood. Maybe their first interaction with music is in 5th grade band or elementary school. Like that might have been the last time for a lot of the community patients I work with. That was the last time they played an instrument.
Yeah.
So if you go back to that, it's like music education is their first interaction with music. And so it's kind of that educative role, and you have to make sure you're playing the recorder. I think a recorder is triggering for some people.
I used to love the recorder.
did?
Did you do
Okay.
that?
No,
Was
I
that
didn't
a
do
thing? Okay.
No.
Oh,
I loved that.
You loved it.
That was
Okay.
super fun.
Do you like listening to it?
I mean, it probably sounds awful, but when I was a kid, I loved it.
Okay. Well,
It's all very foreign to me, but
next time I see you guys, I'll have to bring in some recorders.
Do you even know what a recorder is?
I don't
He
know what a
doesn't know what that
recorder
is.
is.
Oh, okay. It's like it's like
It's like a long plastic instrument that you blow
flute?
into,
but
and
like
it has holes on it.
a
Oh,
lot more cringier. Like sorry.
like a piccolo?
No, that's great.
That sounds beautiful. It's
like a
maybe
plastic
not a good
instrument.
sound. We
Oh.
loved it though. It was fun.
We'll have to do a recorder episode.
I guess let's do
That'd
that.
be great.
So you're thinking a lot of folks, that's kind of the memory they have associated, and that maybe keeps them limited in what it really is because that's their
Yeah.
only experience. Okay, that makes sense.
At least for when it comes to playing an instrument.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are obviously open to listening to music.
Sure.
Because music is everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Weddings, events, sports games, everything.
Yeah.
Even like going to a grocery store, there's music playing in the background. A lot of times 80s music.
Yes.
I will say.
Yes, it helps you
So.
shop. It makes you feel good about spending your money. When bacon's over $10, you still buy it because Def Leppard is playing in the
It's
background.
rocking and
And you should
Avoid
just do
that
that.
store, but
Did you see what I'm dealing with?
she never
Becca?
goes back.
just
She won't go
avoid
back
it.
if they're playing that music. It's terrible.
Okay, so maybe at the coffee shop. I don't know. Can we
Yeah.
talk about what kind of music you like? So if
I like a lot of different kinds. That's really like my least favorite, but I
Least
love like
favorite is the
metal.
80s.
Yeah,
oh,
like metalcore is my favorite.
Okay. So maybe if we're going to, I don't know, where's some places you would walk into and there's that playing?
Nowhere.
Yeah,
like a
that's
torture
probably-
chamber.
But I like so like let's
Prisons.
say like a coffee shop, like you're saying.
Yes.
Like, I like chill vibes acoustic. I like that too.
Yeah. Chill vibes.
Yeah.
Is that what they play at Goldberry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say they have chill vibes.
Probably
there.
like some indie pop
I like
and
yeah.
indie lo-fi. Everyone
I like Mumford.
loves to study to Mumford.
Yeah.
So
Some more.
I
more
think what
soft
Becca is
music.
getting at is everybody, you can't escape music. It's ubiquitous.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
I'm gonna
So
go home. May or may not go home and look that up.
yeah.
But just for extra
Sure.
understanding. But yeah, for sure.
All right. So when you first maybe introduce the idea, is that how it usually goes? So because they're probably the patient or the person is unaware of it as a venue, is it usually you maybe suggesting that, hey, would you be interested in music therapy? And then you get probably all kinds of questions like, what's that?
Yes, all types of responses,
Yeah.
which keeps it exciting and interesting. Because if you think about the medical setting, if you just imagine just sitting in there for a second, you're just stressful. You're just stressed.
Yeah.
Like the thought of it, because there's beeps, there's sounds, there's people running around, there's acute care happening, and just a stressful, high stakes environment. And so if you think about pulling in an instrument into that or mentioning music, everyone's like, what are you talking about? Or if they see, like, I have a cart that I push around that has a keyboard and a guitar on it, all my music therapy gear.
Cool.
And I leave that in the hallway when I do my assessment sessions with my patients. When they see me pushing that around, they're just like, is that a guitar? Normally if you see a guitar at a church or something, it's like everyone knows it's a guitar. But when they're in the hospital, they have to ask, is that a guitar?
They don't
What is that?
expect
Why
it.
is that here?
Why is that guitar here in this hospital?
Do you know how to play the guitar?
Yeah.
That's another question. No, I'm just pushing it around. you know?
Right. I just found this. I found this in somebody's room,
Yes.
and now I'm just giving it a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
it does. There's a lot of, I don't know if we want to call them barriers or kind of just like mental blocks
Yeah.
or just the idea of accessibility to this more specialized idea and care. But then if you pull in the therapy part to talk about music, that is another whole level too. So a lot of times it's just, do you like music? Here's the specialized service that we have. It's really here just to help support you. Like, you're going through it right now.
Right.
And you're in a hospital.
Yeah.
And if you feel like, this is something you might benefit from, or if you're open to trying it, here's what we can do, and here's some options,
Yeah.
and this is what it could look like.
Well, Becca, how do folks typically respond when you kind of open it up and introduce that concept? Do a lot of them take advantage, or they want to wait and think about it, or how do they usually respond?
Yeah, everyone's across the board, and
Yeah.
it does a lot of, age and population play a role in
Okay.
to that too. I think if they like music, they might be more open to it.
Okay.
But it's also in the hospital, like maybe they have a procedure that day, or like they just got lunch, so it's anything goes. But yeah, if they're open to trying it, then we just talk through what that looks like, and they also have their right, because we really value autonomy as music therapists, and through our program, like, you have so many people coming in to your room that you don't have a choice over what's going on a lot of times, but
Sure.
you do have a choice over music therapy. So yeah, sometimes maybe they are like, come back, let me think about it, here's this brochure, come back the next day. So it's a range of reaction. Or sometimes they're just like, oh my gosh, I love music, like, can you come in right now, like,
Right.
I'm having like an anxiety attack, like,
Interesting.
and I need this, so
Right.
I'm willing to give it a try.
How does age and population play a role?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think for a lot of the, I don't want to like offend anybody either, but I guess we could say, like, generally the younger folks are more open to, like a specialized service, or even just kind of, and I think that's great, what you guys do here too, is normalizing the idea of talking about mental health, and normalizing talking about therapy, and that it's there's not something like wrong with you,
Right.
or you don't have a problem or an issue that needs to be pointed fingers at you if you're going to therapy. But so I think generally, younger folks are more open to it.
Okay.
And
that
then
makes sense.
if they're older, they just they love music, and we might not even talk about the therapy aspect of it as
Right.
much. It's just more of like, let's talk about your youth, and how does that make you happy and take your mind off of being at the hospital.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think that's really clever, Becca, because I mean, even if you don't actually get into the formal music therapy proper, just you made a connection. You've probably reduced some of their anxiety and stress, and probably blood pressure and other things have come down just because you've opened up an avenue that they probably weren't expecting, and here you are connecting with somebody. And Dr. Ashland and I talk about a lot about the importance of connection, regardless of the age, young people, middle-aged, older folks, but and that connection can help really reduce, I think, some of the anxiety in a situation, because you primarily work in the hospital setting. So, and you're in that inpatient setting. And let's face it, most of us, as you said, the blinking, the lights, everything about the inpatient setting, even though I know some hospitals have tried to make those things more comfortable, they just tend by their nature to be somewhat anxiety provoking for a lot of folks. So you can really bring some of that calm and comfort and distraction, if you will, for that person. So that's great.
Yeah, one of the things that brought up for me is, if you remember, Candace Ressler came in and talked to us about art therapy.
Yep.
And she said a lot of people are resistant because they feel like they're not creative or artistic.
Yep.
Do you see that, like, with music therapy at all?
Like, I never played
Like,
an
I'm not
instrument.
music, I
I'm not
can't.
musical.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
can't sing. But
Right. I wondered if that'd be different too, because, like you said, music is all around us.
Yeah.
So maybe people aren't as resistant. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be curious too to hear. I think Candace and I have talked a little bit about that as well. I think music is different in the fact that, people do react that way. Like, oh my gosh, like I like to listen to music, but I don't play an instrument. Like, like 5th grade, bring that back. But I think that's where I come in, and I, educate them on, there's different music therapy interventions that we use in the hospital. And I would say the most popular one we call, like, receptive music listening. So they're in this acute setting, they're in their bed, they're wearing a gown, they're oftentimes pretty sick and not feeling up to necessarily participating in the music, but they're more often open to receiving the music that I provide.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they'll close their eyes and just lay back and just receive and listen, and that relaxes them, especially if we're using their, what we call preferred music, what they find relaxing.
Yeah.
And that's part of the assessment process
So
too.
you've got a wide range of musical styles that you can, because you don't know what they're going to prefer, so you try to adapt.
Exactly. Not all 80s.
No.
So I do, sorry to break it to you, I do know music outside of the 80s.
Thank goodness.
Even though I played Walking on Sunshine at the...
You did at
RSVP.
RSVP.
That was
right?
great. I loved that.
I did know that one. I was singing along.
Does that make you happy,
Across
David?
A little
generations.
bit.
I think that spans across generations. That's great.
That is a happy song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, if you think about Walking on Sunshine, that really isn't possible, but we don't want to get into the
Right.
logical. And again,
Yeah.
for the audience, I'm actually wearing a hospital gown for this interview, just so we could
It's an
get
experiential
right.
Yes.
podcast.
We
You're
wanna-
just making me feel more comfortable because that's people I work with, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Well, now that makes sense. Though they would be more on the receiving end rather than jumping in and performing, because just the setting would kind of
Yeah,
kind of
that's
lend
very
towards
cool.
that.
And Candace, too, I think from what I know about her, she sees her clients regularly on a schedule. And in my setting, that might be the one and done, like the only time I see that patient.
True.
That's important. Now,
So-
is that just because of the setting? Because of
Yes.
it's okay? Are there just for the audience? Are there folks that work on an outpatient basis that could see somebody on a regular basis doing music therapy? Do you know about that? Does that happen in different settings? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. In each hospital is different. I mainly know about what we do in university hospitals, but for example, Seidman Cancer Center, we have that at UH as well, and I've worked with some of our Seidman cancer patients.
Sure. And that could be on an ongoing basis then. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I see. Okay, so that's important, I think, for the audience. So
Yeah.
sometimes this might be like I said, like a one-off. She might just see the person one time, but there is that option of, similar to Candace, where music therapy can be worked into their ongoing help that they're receiving from an organization. I think that's great.
And it might be good to put in as well that I do community groups every month as well.
Yeah, let's
So
talk
I'm
about
seeing
that.
Those.
Yeah, tell us about what are those community groups?
So I'm going into multiple rehab, memory care, assisted living, pretty much all the places that our patients, if they're not going home to a house that could be their home, I don't want to
Sure.
confuse with that terminology, but if they're getting discharged from the hospital, and those are the main places that we work with when they leave our hospital, I'm going into those facilities and providing a music therapy group once a month.
Yeah, that was a different thing. It can be done individually, but as you heard, Becca can do this as a group, and I wonder if that lowers people's anxiety about participation, especially if they see other people. I don't know. Do you think that maybe brings some people out when they see 2 or 3 other people really joining in? They're like, oh, this is okay. This is safe.
Yeah, definitely. And that's
Okay.
when I have a bunch of instruments with me, and that's when I do encourage them to play this
try?
instrument. Let's see what
Wow.
happens and how does it make you feel. And a lot of times playing an instrument is a release, and it's a form of self-expression and letting the internal become externalized. So it is very therapeutic in that way.
Yeah.
And also doing the Women Supporting Women's group once a month as well. So that's anybody in the community can come to that one as well. So that's not just
where
the
does that
facilities.
take place at?
Takes place at university hospitals.
Okay.
In the East Tower conference room, but
At Samaritan.
at Samaritan, yeah.
Here locally, and that's 1025 Center Street, Ashland, Ohio.
Wow.
That's right. And what time of day is this Women Supporting Women's group?
It is 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So we understand a lot of women are moms, women, that work, and so it's an after work, and it's Tuesday. I think it's the second or third Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That
Sounds
is
like a lot
awesome.
of fun. I want to go.
Becca was invited recently, because it was in the paper, to one of the local conferences here that was focused on women. Do you remember that, Becca? It seemed like there might have been quite a few women there at this
I
event.
was in the paper.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
They invited you, I think, to talk about your work there. And they do, I think, every year, Ashland's been doing that, where they gather professional women throughout the community and just, again, try to empower them and support them. And
Oh, yes, women in the workplace.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
So-
I was there. That was me.
That was you. But I that's it. I wanted to have you on even before that, but I just think it's great that people are recognizing not only you, but what you're doing and how impactful that is, whether it's in your work with the group or at the hospital. Music therapy makes a difference, and it can make a difference. And I love what Becca said earlier, that she got the fact that, here at the Mental Health and Recovery Board, we're all about normalizing those conversations.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ashley, we're all about non-medical options, non-medication based options when that makes sense. And again, whether it was Candace or Rebekah, art and music therapy are these very natural. And let's face it, we've had it from simple instruments. We've had these things around for a couple thousand years. So these are, and same things with cave drawings, right? These are old milieus. These are old ways that we've expressed ourselves. So why would we just abandon them when we're struggling?
I think they're so important, those approaches. And the non-chemical kind of approach to mental wellness is great. And one of the benefits of that is there are no side effects. Like we talk about medication often and all the negative side effects that can come along with that. These approaches, there's not like a negative side effect from them.
Yeah. The downside is only that the person may not, like 80s hair bands.
Maybe they don't.
That's a downside that we discover that, and that's a check against them.
No, it's a character strength.
It's a character strength, Dr. Ashley. We will agree to disagree on that.
My views. That maybe brought something up there.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what we
Something
call.
you have to work through.
That's nonverbals, Becca. That's what we call those.
This is why we brought you in.
Elicited a response in me.
How do you feel? From your perspective, I don't know how many years you've been doing this work. Give me a rough idea. 5, 10, 15?
Oh.
Becca's only 12, so I don't know how many years she's actually been doing this.
Yes, people tend to think I'm 6 years younger than I actually am. But I've been doing this I think this is my third year.
Wow.
Awesome.
With university hospitals.
Yeah. And honestly, do you feel like it's making a difference? I mean, I know it's, Dr. Ashley and I are both therapists, and people would ask that all the time. And sometimes we didn't know if we were really having a positive impact, because a lot of times the clients we would see, when they were doing better, they just didn't show up. They didn't call and say, hey, I'm doing good, I don't need to see it. They would just stop, and we never knew exactly. And I know you've got a lot of one-time people that you see, but do you feel like you've gotten enough feedback to say that, the work you're doing is making a difference?
I think so. I think the point you brought up about seeing someone like one time,
I
think that's really challenged me over the years to view making a difference differently, I think, because we like to have something in front of us. We like to have that narrative, anecdotal response or something. But I think at the end of the day, it's if I can help make a difference for this person here in this moment just by being present with them, just to help them have a better day.
Yeah.
I think that will then flow into the rest of their life, and that's my hope. Maybe if they come out of their hospital stay with a positive mindset, or I learned about music therapy when I was at the hospital and these coping skills that my music therapist taught me, and now I know how to use music, and I'm encouraged to use music in a way to help me cope with things. And like you said, Dr. Ashley, it's a non-pharmacological treatment option that we have, and it can be used in your daily life. So I think in that way, I viewed that making a difference is kind of, like I said, challenged me. But yeah, we do hear great feedback from the staff.
Yeah.
And if I work closely with the nurses, I'm amazed by our nurses every single day, just what they do and their resilience. And
I would think they would give you good feedback, because they're very in tune with the clients and the patients they're seeing. So if it's making a difference, I think you could probably believe them if they say that made a difference, whether the person said it to you or not. I can tell you, Becca, that made a difference. Yeah. Well, I have to ask, when was it? When did you realize this is a passion of yours, and you wanted to channel that passion into this work? Was it when you were in 5th grade and you were just on your piccolo, or when?
Recorder?
Oh, yes.
Playing Three Blind Mice on the recorder.
Oh, my gosh.
When did this happen? When did this all start?
I would like to think it was my childhood, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
So believe it or not, I grew up watching my parents. Both my parents are musical,
okay,
which I think is amazing. But as a child, I was intimidated by that because I am dreadfully, inherently shy, and
I don't believe that at all.
Wow.
Spit in the mic.
Don't believe it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me
Sorry, everybody.
wipe that off.
You felt something.
Really? So
Yes.
you're shy. Right?
Yeah. You didn't see through that.
Nope, didn't see that.
and over the years, I've kind of, recognized I want to force myself to do things I don't want to do in order to become someone I don't want. I don't want to become someone I want to become.
We'll do a
sure you're
follow-up
awake
episode
there.
after this for the audience.
But that's what I told myself in college, like pushing myself to do things I don't want to do in order
Outside
to
your
become
comfort zone.
someone. Yes, to become someone I want to become.
Yeah.
And when you become comfortable in the uncomfy, then you start to make it believable, I guess, to you,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
You made it believable. So, but
No, you're right. If you don't push yourself, you don't grow. You don't. And if you settle for comfort, you may not end up being the person you really want to be. And to get there, though, right, you have to put yourself in situations, right, that are uncomfortable, and you learn from that. So you really had to push yourself. You weren't just naturally like because you see these young actors or actresses, they were always like in plays, or they were always putting themselves
gosh,
out
yeah.
there. That wasn't you. You weren't always doing
No.
that. Okay.
I also, mad respect for the theater kids, but could never be, still could never be. But yeah, grew up seeing my parents do that, and it's also cool. My mom is a psychology major, so they kind of created like a music therapist in a sense.
So was it in college when you finally said, "I'm going to do this"? Was that when it happened?
I didn't know about music therapy until I was a couple years into getting my associate degree.
Yeah.
And I thought I wanted to be a music educator, back to the education piece, because a lot of people think, when they think music education or music performance. And then I learned about music therapy, and I was like, it kind of sounds a little, I don't know.
Made up.
Yes. Like, and sometimes when I explain it, like, I don't know. It does sound like you're talking about voodoo magic sometimes, and like the results that you get, but it's not. Like at the end of the day,
No, Candace said something very similar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she did.
But at the end of the day, I started researching it, and a lot of what we do is based in research, and it is this very grounded and elicits these very powerful results for our patients and clients. And so I was very intrigued by that. And wanted to see more. And I also love it's like evolving and adapting as most mental health professions.
And we're going to touch on that. And again, we're speaking with Rebekah Smith, who is a music therapist, board certified at University Hospitals right here in town. And I wanted to talk about that, Becca, because the other thing we touched on at the conference is as there's been more recognition of both music and art therapy, Ohio, among other states, has said, you know what, we need to legitimize this to some extent. All this good work and all the research that you referenced, that this really does make a difference. And the way you legitimize some of these practices is to license them, to regulate them, because that lets the public know. That's really the essence of why you have licensure boards, is to assure the public that this is legit, that these people, we oversee them, that we're there to protect you, public. We're just not letting anybody saying, hey, I'm doing this thing and it's good for you. It's not, there's an expression back in the day called snake oil salesman. That's very old.
Have you heard of that before, Dr. Ashley?
I have not heard that.
Okay, I have not. I just want to make sure I wasn't alone in that.
That's because you guys are both 12. That's why. But anyway, so to assure that this is legit, Ohio has gone down this road of licensing both art and music therapy. So you are already through that process, or are you in that process in terms of licensure? I don't remember. You told me, but I forget, because that's what happens when you're old.
Yes, I think there's been a lot of music therapists that have worked very, very hard to get us to this point.
Yeah.
And we are there now, and there's been a lot of conversations of those next steps. And it's the same for art and music therapy. It's now that recognition, and I think we're mentioned in the bill, or
Yeah. Are you going down that road then?
things.
So you'll pursue that then, the licensure path?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Because you're all
That's
set
great.
up. I don't know if you need to do anything extra. I think that's kind of what they're working out, is they'll look at all your education, your work, and probably decide you need to take a test, or you don't, or you'll get grandfathered. That's typically the process. So you'll apply, and then you'll find out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not, and hopefully I pass.
I would
Don't
think
want
so.
to be a fake or a phony here.
Right.
But,
Oh, I'm sure you'll pass.
but I'm not sure really like the details of things or
They're still
the
working it
timeline
out, I think.
of things. Yes, but I know we've made huge strides this
Yeah.
this past year, and it's really exciting, and I'm excited to have this be more accessible for those who really need it and can benefit from it, and how insurance and those
Yes.
things work as well, I think that's going to be
Exactly.
a big step in that direction as well.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been hearing just in my social circles and also professional circles, a lot of people are interested in becoming music therapists. Like it's a new, there's a lot of talk about it.
Yep.
So having you here, I wanted to ask you if there are any tips or words of wisdom that you might have for someone who's thinking about becoming a music therapist.
Good question.
Yeah, I think there's so many ways I could answer that question. It's also really cool. There were two young ladies that came up to me after the RSVP conference, and they said they wanted to come because they're interested in becoming music therapists. So that was
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of it,
No.
honestly.
We love to hear it.
Yeah.
Becca, whether you want to be or not, I think you and Candace too, you're both very good ambassadors for what you do. I think, and again, I was teasing earlier, but Becca is actually very nice and very approachable.
She's,
She's, and I think people sense that in you, Becca, and they want to, they were interested. They heard you talk, they heard you play, and tell them a little bit, and they said, yeah, I want to do this. Help me. And so I think because you've been at the forefront of this, I think you'll be in a position where you can help some of these younger folks coming up that want to do this now. And especially, again, since there's this licensure path, and as you say, once insurance starts paying for it, organizations, companies, hospitals, you name it, they're going to employ, once they start to see the benefits of this coming alongside the work, whatever they're doing. So I think you might have another side thing that you do where you can be this ambassador for music therapy. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, how
Nobody
exciting.
cares what I think, though.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's really, I think at the end of the day, it's very humbling because I know how hard, having gone through the program and having gone through all of the 1,200 hours of clinical training in multiple settings and doing the board exam and doing the psychology and the anatomy courses and the statistics courses because we do research and all these aspects that people don't realize about music therapy. They just see me pushing around the lady with the guitar like, hey, do you know how to play that guitar, by the way? And like, why is that in the hospital? But yeah, I think for the younger folks that are thinking about becoming a music therapist, I think at the end of the day, if you have a heart and passion for helping others and for just creating this life that's centered around serving those and advocating that it is a huge part of what we do.
Yep.
That's gonna take you far. If you find that you might not enjoy working with people or you don't really want to help people, but you like the idea of music, then there's a lot of other avenues for music. If you're interested in becoming a music therapist, definitely start working on your music skills and your people skills and volunteering. And there's multiple ways. It's, music therapists wear many hats, and just being ready for anything.
That's
being
awesome.
ready to be on your toes.
Yeah,
That's
being
awesome.
flexible.
Yeah. Well, Becca, our guests before we end, we always say, hey, is there anything else that's on your heart or that's pressing that you want the audience to know before we wrap up? But I think this has been great. You've really opened, I think, my eyes about what's all involved in how you make a difference. But anything you want to say to the audience before we sign off today's episode?
I guess I just feel led to, I don't know, I guess just encourage people. We've been going through a lot this past decade and just coming out of the pandemic and all the repercussions and everything that's still going on. So yeah, just encourage people to that you're not alone. There are resources, especially in Ashland County, that we're here to help support you if you feel open to doing that. We're not here to pressure you to come, but you are cared about, and we do want to support you. And music therapy is one of those ways that we can do that. And everything that you all do, I'm sure it goes beyond and above like my comprehension of everything that you do.
I hope not. We're trying to speak to folks in a way that hopefully they understand, because you're right, Becca. We want people to be able to access the services the board funds and provides, and if we don't use the right language, we're not helpful. So we're trying to explain things in a way that hopefully are accessible to folks. So, in speaking of accessibility, Becca, I don't know, maybe you don't want people contacting you, but if any of our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, is there an appropriate way that they should do that?
Yeah, they can email me. I think
They're allowed?
people can have my
Okay.
email. Yeah.
We can put that in the podcast description.
Yeah.
If that's okay. I didn't want to.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
okay.
want you to get inundated with all kinds of crazy emails. But we will. We are speaking with Becca Smith, music therapist, board certified, and we will have her. If you want to follow up with her, any of the things she said. Like I said, she is doing wonderful work in the community and at the hospital. And if you were like some of those folks at RSVP, if you're interested in learning more about maybe going down this as a career path, I think Becca would be a wonderful resource for you to connect with.
Absolutely. You've been such a gem. So thank you for stopping by our podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. The podcast is a production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. You can reach the board by calling 419-281-3139. Please remember that the board funds a local 24/7 crisis line through Appleseed Community Mental Health Center. It can be reached by calling 419-289-6111. That's 419-289-6111. Until next time, please join us in Keeping Ashland Healthy.